A snappy and ultra-slick shooter, Spritgate answers the question, what would happen if Halo and Portal had a baby? Well, not only would the Tyke have a seriously twitchy trigger finger, but it would also behave far better than you would ever think. With an impactful arsenal that matches the Master Chief's armory at its best, Splitgate's frenzied, free-to-player, multiplayer mayhem always feels satisfying. Yet it's the additions of those portals that add a layer of strategy and bristling chaos to what's already becoming an iconic FPS. With the first Splitgate proving a breakout success in 2019 and Splitgate 2 planning to launch in 2025, there is no better time to polish your Portal sniping skills.
Valorant is Riot Games' attempt to take CSGO's competitive FPS crown. It's like a mix of Valve's tactical shooter and Overwatch's over-the-top heroes. It is, at its heart, still a tactical FPS, in which positioning is king and every character is dangerously squishy. But each agent has flashy skills and abilities that can turn the course of a round. If you've not taken some time away, you may be surprised by just how powerful some of these skills have become in the years since launch. Valorant is more colorful than CSGO, but the clean visuals prove that the emphasis is on substance over style. The fact it's made the leap to platforms such as PS5 and Xbox are testaments to how much polish Riot put into its design and how balanced its maps and heroes are. And if you're looking for a shooter that demands as much brain as brawn, you'll find few as engaging as Valorant.
A modern take on Valve's classic Left 4 Dead, Back 4 Blood remains popular with players who want more customization between levels. While solo play only offers bog-standard zombie-slaying thrills, the action is oh so elevated by a fantastic co-op mode, which we shout out in our Back 4 Blood review, that delivers equal measures of camaraderie and chaos. Back 4 Blood's B-movie charm and smart card system deliver dollops of slapstick and strategy to a game that makes you cherish every last gasp dive to that safe room, whether you make it there with your spleen intact or not. Although updates on this gory gem have ceased as of 2023, servers remain up, which means this is a particularly good game to dive into with friends who have had perhaps rinsed Left 4 Dead a bit too much.
Battlefield 1 is a WW1 shooter that showcases a terrifying amount of carnage. It's got all the familiar BF modes that we've grown to love, including Conquest, Rush, and Domination. But this game adds the formidable Operations mode that takes the push and pull of war to new heights. In fact, the game works so well as a multiplayer shooter because of how finely it's balanced. There's no class, weapon, or tactic that gives an unfair advantage over others. Trust us, there's a reason why we gave it such a high score in our Battlefield 1 review. Though the Battlefield series has marched on since this injury, post-launch updates turned a Battlefield 1 into something of a late bloomer after launch, to the point where it's arguably now better than it's ever been. If you want to mix things up from Battlefield 2042 or simply didn't gel with EA's modern shooter, this is the perfect recommendation for anyone who wants a historical shooter with a little more texture than your usual Call of Duty match.
Plenty of modern FPS games capture the feeling of playing Quake or Doom for the first time. But Dusk is the smoothest, the fastest, the goriest. It's like the best of the 90s, but with a few modern-day twists to make it stand out. Like detailed reload animations and inventive level design. Maps are varied and keep you guessing. One minute you're in a spooky old farm, clearing out barns with a shotgun. The next you're in a science lab that twists back on itself, the walls becoming the floor wouldn't you turn your head. Like the best old school shooters, it's simply bloody good fun. Beefy weapons turn enemies into a fine red mist, and you zoom through levels as if on roller skates, only pausing to line up the perfect shot. It's topped off by a metal soundtrack that refuses to let you quit. It may be old enough to drive and gamble a young Gordon's student loan fees under a bus. Yet, despite its age, Half-Life 2 still has a touch of GOAT status. This is an all-time shooter masterpiece. Whether you played it on a cutting-edge rig on a debuting Steam in 2004, or first sampled at City 17 Delights courtesy of Valve's brilliant Orange Box bundle, the core of Half-Life 2's greatness remains unblemished. It's a true test-of-time game that earned a near-perfect score in our Half-Life 2 review. Few other shooters before or since show such a level of masterly pacing. If you haven't played before, we'd recommend checking Half-Life 2 out.
to see why it was all the rage in its heyday. Plus, the level set in zombie-infested Ravenholm remains one of the best levels to ever take place in an FPS. If you haven't bisected an enemy with flying saw blades, have you ever really lived?
It may not be one of the best Far Cry games in the series, but Far Cry 6 is still a superior shooter. Does it still lean heavily on a lot of well-worn Ubisoft tropes? Of course. Yet, look past the dinky Dachshund sidekicks named after a Spanish sausage and the typically assured, if samey stealth, and you'll find an FPS that feels like a much-needed turning point for Far Cry. New additions like the Supremo backpacks open up creative new avenues for both sneaky and explosive chaos, further enlivening for as already intoxicating power fantasy. Better yet, with the introduction of freedom fighter Donnie, who you could actually see, listen to, and emote alongside in third-person cutscenes, Far Cry has finally given us a protagonist who's actually worth rooting for, and all it took was half a dozen entries. When it comes to sandbox shooters, few do Mad Cow Spectacle better than this FPS. Check out our Far Cry 6 review for more information.
Never has a game so intelligent tried so hard to look like an idiot, or been so screamingly funny with it. On Bulletstorm's surface, you'll find a brash, knowing, don't give a fuck attitude, sitting on a layer of the most gloriously creative cursing you've ever heard in a video game. Beneath, you will find one of the densest, most detailed, widest branching FPS systems ever devised. The genius of Bulletstorm lies in its skill shots. Imagine if a new Tony Hawk's game served up tricks but replaced every ollie and kickflip with increasingly gruesome ways of mangling mutants, and you're pretty much there. Boot a dude in the balls, then kick his head off. Launch cement into orbit with an alt-fire rocket, then pick them out of the sky like they were clay pigeons. Sadly, we'll probably never see such a brash, bright, or commendably crude FPS like this again. Read our 5-star Bulletstorm review if you're after more details.
When it comes to the best Call of Duty games, this is both the latest and one of the greatest. As stated in our Call of Duty Black Ops 6 review, 2024's entry to the series boasted a return to form on all fronts. Whether you're craving a surprisingly creative campaign, multiplayer bolstered by the addition of Omni movement, or the best zombies mode since 2010's Black Ops 6 is the game to go with. That's the funny thing about Black Ops 6. Regardless on what you're in the mood for, it has something for every FPS fan. 90s babies will appreciate the sprinkling of capital C culture here. There are needle drops for a Faith No More and 9 Inch Nails sprinkled throughout the multiplayer and campaign. But really, it's the movement system and Treyarch's extra punchy guns that make this one a winner. If you've taken a longer than usual break from Call of Duty, Black Ops 6 is the best possible time to pick things back up where you left them. 2 kills off a chopper gunner.
How to describe Borderlands 3? You could say it's the underlying principles of the first and second Borderlands, wrapped up in a more pristine shell. Or you could call it World of Warcraft, the first-person shooter. With its heavy emphasis on loot, and more loot, Borderlands 3 drowns players in a sea of guns with varying abilities and stats, conveniently color-coded by rarity. The colorful characters break away from the traditional fighter, wizard, rogue archetypes, and each hero is memorable in their own right. That said, the one snag about the game that we mentioned in our Borderlands 3 review is that it doesn't quite have the character of Borderlands 2. We miss Krieg. Krieg, you crazy barbarian poets. And none of Borderlands 3's villains fill us with anger the way Handsome Jack did. But in terms of shooting and looting, preferably in co-op, it still stands as the zenith of the Borderlands formula.
PUBG is the game that spawned the Battle Royale craze. Technically, it wasn't the first Battle Royale game, but it popularized the staples of the genre we all recognize. Randomized gear spread out on a big map, a starting plane from which players parachute, and an ever-shrinking play zone. A lot has changed since it first came out, and now it's more polished, with a variety of maps that cater to all playstyles. And it's free to play, at a baseline. On the vaguest maps, you might go long stretches without seeing another player. And it's that pacing and the lethality of the realistic bullet physics that set PUBG apart from the crowd. You can play with a squad of friends and experience why this is one of the best multiplayer games around, but it's always those nail-biting, stealthy solo moments that stick with me. And yes, you can technically play PUBG in third person, but good luck getting that chicken dinner if you're not shooting in first person.
Despite changing its name from Counter-Strike Global Offensive, Valve's king of shooters remains in top form on Steam. This tactical FPS is as crunchy as ever, with the added benefit of a modern-day visual overhaul, meaning it's a wonderful entry or re-entry for taking your shooting skills into a more competitive environment. Although custom servers allow for more casual experiences, the real draw of CS2 is its terrorists versus counter-terrorists game modes without respawns. Here, Counter-Strike's emphasis on paying attention to sounds and communicating with your allies shines. There's nothing like the tension that sits at the beginning of each round, as both teams secretly select their tactics and wait for them to collide with their opponent's own gambit. Each map is meticulously crafted to allow for myriad tactics, and the lovingly modeled guns in your expansive arsenal all have minutiae in their firing rates and recoil. This game sticks with you, and it's hard to see this shooter going anywhere for a long time. Read our Counter-Strike Global Offensive review for more details.
Let's be honest. Whether your FPS is meant to be a slow tactical crawl or daft arcadey fun, killing every enemy in seconds is a massive flex. I Am Your Beast, an indie shooter from Strained Scaffold, gets this. A revenge thriller with the tightly choreographed action sequences of a feature film, I Am Your Beast is all about making you feel like the strongest, slickest star in any single fight. You'll often be outnumbered, frequently outgunned, but never outmatched. After all, any character capable of clubbing a guard and catching their gun in the same second, yes, you can really do that, deserves their main character status. This may have flown under your radar at launch, but don't let it sneak any further away.
We told it the best shooters of 2019 for a reason in our Metro Exodus review. The Metro series is known for blending stealth and shooting in oppressive environments filled with ravenous mutants that want to rip your throat out. Exodus is built from the same DNA, but finds a new level of polish and ambition. From Moscow, you take a train through the Russian wilderness, stopping off in desert towns, snowy tundras, and military bases, each filled with secrets to find and enemies to blow to bits. You conduct missions alone, and venturing from the safety of your party is nerve-wracking. Thankfully, you have an armory of inventive, upgradable weapons to keep you safe, from crossbows to revolvers. Back on the train, you'll get to know the endearing cast who will make you genuinely care about protagonist Artyom's fate. If you're looking for pure action, Exodus's careful pace might turn you off, but the cross-country travel gives you a constant sense of progress.
Time only moves when you move. That's the elevator pitch for Superhot, a cerebral FPS from an independent studio out of Poland, and it's a perfect distillation of what makes Superhot so intoxicating. And all that slow-mo obviously helps too. Cooler than Keanu in the original Matrix taking the ice bucket challenge, this effortlessly slick FPS is as much a puzzler as it is a shooter. While the octave pointing and pulling the trigger is simple enough, it's hard to miss when you're moving slower than a tortoise in treacle, the order you take enemies out is an entirely trickier issue. Many levels must be completed with Swiss watch levels of precision, and killing a dude at the wrong time can make the whole slow-motion house of bullet-strewn cards tumble. That's the central appeal of Superhot. It's an FPS that's as clever as it is cool.
Titanfall 2 is an undisputed high ranker when it comes to the best FPS games. The weightlessness that comes with perfectly mastered wall running makes you feel like you're doing some sort of deadly ballet, letting you sail past your foes at impossible speeds, catching them unawares. The unforgettable BT-7274 and unbridled creativity dominate Titanfall 2's campaign. Whether it involves you switching between decades in the blink of an eye, walking through a moment frozen in time, or simply ripping other Titans apart when you step into titanic bot boots of BT-7274. Rewarding you for using the environment to your advantage, you can feel the moment when you start thinking differently, realizing the possibilities a map offers. The physics-twisting Quake-like mechanics of its multiplayer mode strengthened an already sensational shooter package. But it's that remarkable campaign that makes Titanfall 2 such an enduring shooter. Let's cross BT's colossal droid digits so that we eventually see a Titanfall 3.
Rainbow Six Siege has quietly become one of the best Tom Clancy games around, combining the intensity and replayability of Counter-Strike with the unique abilities and personality of Overwatch.
But the real star of Siege is the impressive destructibility of her environment. Walls and ceilings can all be destroyed, so you need to smartly choose which flanks to cover and which walls to reinforce, lest someone blast through them with sizzling thermite. You and your squad mates choose from a variety of highly skilled operators, each with their own specialties that can complement each other for a rock-solid team comp, though your propensity for sneaking and aiming a gun are what matter most.
If VR headsets were issued at birth, there's a chance Half-Life Alyx would be our favorite FPS of all time. Sadly, the barrier for entry to enjoy this virtual reality wonder at its very best is loftier than the off switch on a Strider. Even if you merely settle for experiencing this perfectly paced, incredibly atmospheric shooter on a meta quest rather than Valve's painfully expensive Index, you're still looking at dropping a huge chunk of change for a 10-hour game. And yet, the absolute highest praise we can heap on Alyx, we'd seriously consider paying the price of a PS5 or Xbox Series X to play this one sensational shooter. Not only is it one of the best VR games on the market, but the shooting controls make you feel like you are the star of your own action movie.
Though we didn't exactly shower Doom Eternal with praise fresh out of the gate, in retrospect, this really is at the pinnacle of the FPS genre. This is everything that the genre is about, distilled into one glorious roar. It's also a remarkably elegant experience in motion, especially for a game that makes you garrote a demon every 17 seconds. Like Mario 64 or Mirror's Edge, Eternal feels flawless when you tap into its joyous rhythm. Every gun feels perfectly tuned, each level impeccably paced, while every monster dragged screaming from the depths of hell has clearly been designed to coax just the right measure of aggression out of the Doomslayer. Amazingly, it's brilliant on pretty much every modern platform too, whether you're playing on an OG Xbox One, ripping Kakoa Demon eyes out at 120 frames per second on a cutting-edge PC, or yanking spines on the impressively assured Twitch fort, Doom Eternal kicks ass whatever your choice of format.
Arguably the best of the best Battle Royale games. For years, 3 games had a stranglehold on the genre: Fortnite, PUBG Battlegrounds, and Apex Legends. But Call of Duty Warzone has blown it wide open by twisting every element of the genre into something that feels exciting but accessible. The new stuff: when you die, you get one shot to respawn by taking on another dead foe in a 1v1 fight. You get cash from completing contracts spread across the map, hunting down enemies, searching for chests, or defending an area. Then there are the old comforting beds, the ever-shrinking play zone, a flawless ping system to flag items for your teammates, and vehicles to transport you to distant circles. It's like the greatest hits of the genre so far, all backed by Call of Duty's tried and tested low recoil gunplay. You can play it solo, but jumping in with friends in duos, trios, or even the chaotic 4-soldier squad mode is where the real Warzone fun is found.
No one expected Destiny 2 to be as good as it is, and we really love this game, if you couldn't tell already by our 5-star Destiny 2 review. Instantly making the first game look like a set of prototypes, this title improves in every area. Actually, scratch that. It evolves, taking the seed of the first game's MMO FPS idea and building a whole new, entirely richer, deeper, and broader experience around it. But that is only the start. With a simplified, streamlined leveling system running through every one of Destiny 2's vastly expanded activities. From story-driven side quests to multi-part exotic quest lines to treasure hunting and tactically reworked Crucible PvP, every single thing you want to do, however you want to play, will push you forward. And then there's the far more freeform approach to loadouts, further energized by more creative and expressive weapon design.